So today I'm going to be doing a review of the next Hotshot boot, and I'll be doing this in three phases. I'll first talk about my story of owning this boot. Then I will talk about what I don't like about the boot, and then what I do like about the boot. So, years ago, I got into buying work boots more frequently because I started working for a cattle ranch in southeast Idaho, and I showed up to my first day of work with a pair of tennis shoes. My boss laughed at me, and I couldn't afford a pair of boots, so he actually bought me a pair of Georgia wedge boots. I loved wearing them. I loved how durable they were. I loved how hard it was to just break the boot itself. And for years, that's all I wore was just Georgia wedge boots, and they're great boots, but don't have they don't have everything that I would later need in a boot. But after going through about I think two or three pairs of Georgia wedge boots, I then decided I needed a better boot, and I found this boot being recommended as a great boot for being on your feet all day. It was recommended on a video from the YouTuber Wrangle Star, who has great videos, and he wore it firefighting, and he's kind of an older guy, or middle-aged-ish. I don't know how old he really is, but his advice, because so many of the other things that he had videos on, convinced me that this would be a worthwhile purchase. And I needed something that I could be on my feet all day in, and he said that the best boot for being comfortable being on your feet all day was the Nyx Hotshot. So I went ahead and bought a pair, and the break-in is a beast. The break-in is quite a bit of work. But when I first got the boots, I would actually walk miles in them on a track. I would wear them on the hottest days to hopefully let the leather just kind of be a little more malleable. I would wear them to the gym and exercise in them just to try to stretch them out, because it was a while before they were broken in, quite a while. I found them to be really uncomfortable, and for a bit, and so I actually I took the lacing and did it one higher in the eyelets, so that there'd be more space, because I have kind of frog-shaped feet that get really wide when they're put down. And after a while, I realized the boots were the wrong fit. They were too small, and the person who was fitting me at the store accidentally made them a size smaller. I was supposed to be able to wear these boots with 2 pairs of wool socks, and that's not doable. So it's unfortunate because I can't get everything out of the boot I wanted to in my purchase. And later on, over time, the boot did break in more. I took it to a cobbler. I had it stretched wider to make it more comfortable. Eventually, it did get to where I could wear it more comfortably. I wore it out cattle ranching. I've worn it in my shop. I've hiked up really steep mountains with tools all over my body and barbed wire in my hands, and I've never had a more stable step with that kind of dangerous gear in that type of dangerous environment than with this boot here. Far, far better than the Georgia wedge boot. A lot heavier, though. And so that leads me to today, where I have the boot, and it looks still pretty darn new. It doesn't look very beat up at all. If you look close, you'll see a lot of scrapes and scratches and things, but honestly, it's held up really good. So what I don't like about the boot, I don't like the way the boot fits me. But that's not the fault of Nyx, that's the fault of the store that I bought the boot through, because they took my measurements, sent it all off to Nyx, and then Nyx made the boot and then sent it to them. It took about 8 weeks for the boot to arrive. So as for what I don't like about the boot, that's about it. I mean, I could complain about the break-in time, but that's what you ask for when you buy a product that is built to this standard. It comes with a burden of breaking it in. That's just how it is, so I'm not going to complain about that. Now, the price tag, they are expensive, but you're paying for the quality that you're hoping to get. That's all I can say about what I don't like about the boot. What I do like about the boot, it has in fact reduced, in terms of the type of work that I am used to doing, where it's a lot of stuff on the feet, a lot of heavy lifting, and a lot of leaning forward, a lot of packing. So everything from barbed wire fencing in the mountains to construction work with concrete. Try not to wear these boots on the days that we pour, though, because the concrete can be kind of rough on on leather boots, and this isn't really built for concrete work, so I wouldn't wear them on pouring days. Um, other, but as for, because I would get pain in my neck from spending so much time leaning forward, looking down at my knives, and all that fine work, and this boot actually helped to take a lot of that pain away somehow. Same thing with my lower back, same thing with my knees, same thing with my feet and my ankles. The boot, once it breaks into your foot, really does cradle it well, and the pressure, you don't really have one particular pressure spot, because the way it forms to your foot as you wear it, it really does a good job keeping you from feeling like you have pressure in just one spot. I wish I knew, if I knew more about the science of how a foot works and all of that jazz, I'd go into that, but I don't know. All I know is I have less pain now, my knees hurt less, and I actually have a lot of issues with my knees that I've had since I was in my early teens, just genetics of the family, bad knees, so I try to do everything I can to take care of them. And honestly, I've had quite a few pairs of boots, quite a few different pairs of shoes, and in my opinion, this boot has been the best boot I've ever owned. It is not meant for the cold. It is actually meant for firefighting. It's meant for heat. But I wear them in my shop, and I'll wear them when it's not too cold. Also wear it. I'll wear it when it's really hot, all the way to where it's kind of cold. I don't wear it in the extreme cold. I have other boots for that fit that purpose. But as for a shop boot, a work boot, a boot to just work in, this is the best boot I've ever owned. It also looks really good too. If you wear a pair of these out in public, I mean, it makes a statement about who you might be or who you're pretending to be. But I wear this boot whenever I need my feet to be really stable. Most stable step I've ever had. I mean, when this boot, because I have a pair of them, when these boots wear out, I will be getting the company to resole them, rebuild the uppers, whatever it takes, because honestly, these boots save my neck, my back, my knees, and my ankles. And they also save a little bit of my pride. I'm only 5'8", and in these things, I'm probably 5'10". Maybe a little taller. Not bad. Doesn't hurt my wife's view of me being a little bit taller. But these boots are great. In my opinion, if you can afford to get a pair of these, it is worth paying the amount of money. Especially if you're spending $100 on a pair of cheaper work boots that burn out after a year of wear and tear. You can, of course, make cheaper things last longer by taking better care of them. I've taken really good care of these boots. I treat them every so many weeks just to make sure that they stay nice and supple and new. But there's some fellas have had these boots for over a decade of work, and honestly, if they can last that long, it's worth it to spend the extra money up front, have something that's going to protect your joints and make you feel better, help you work better, than to spend less money, have more damage on your body, and just... I think all things considered, it's just worth it to pay the extra money, if you have the money, that is. And the break-in is a beast, but outside of that, great boot. It looks good, and I think that's about all I have to say about it. Now, just because I enjoy sharing my work, I'm going to go to a show here pretty soon. It's one of the knives I'm taking with me. It's a hunting knife made of A2 tool steel. It's got a higher flat grind. It's not really a high flat grind. You can see the edge of it right there. And it's pretty thick. It's a beast of a knife, and it's actually one of my favorites that I've made. It's got a leather stacks in between the antler and the brass. My wife always says these knives look really old, and I kind of like that. I like the fact that it looks like something someone would have carried. when you get these leather stacks in between the brass and the antler, I feel it looks kind of like a vintage age knife. And yeah, just showing you this knife that I'm pretty proud of, and just think it's fun to share. But if you have any questions about the boot, feel free to comment down below. If you want to ask me about my knife or about anything to do with knife making, feel free to ask me. I just enjoy the conversation. And if you feel like you shouldn't be afraid to ask any questions, even dumb ones. I didn't really know a lot about this stuff until I was willing to ask or look for the information. So feel free to ask anything. Ask me about the boot, ask me about the knife. You could ask me about this axe even. Anything you want. So take it easy, and that's the video.